Behind bars in South African prisons there is a code that most inmates use to survive in prison. This code have been going for past generations in South African prisons. The code is the Number Gang. Started as a prison gang with one of the most fearsome reputations in South Africa. Although they were founded in KwaZulu-Natal, it is believed that they are present in most South African prisons. The gang is divided into groups or camps called the 26s, 27s and 28s. What is really this Number Gang? How does it work? Today you about to know the whole truth about the Number Gang. Make sure you watch this video till the end. And if it's your first time in this YouTube channel, you might want to subscribe. There are a lot more videos uploaded weekly in this channel. The Numbers Gang was started in the late 1800s, supposedly to protect mine workers. The origins of the gang remain uncertain at best. Amongst gang members, the likely apocryphal story of Nongoloza and Ingeleketshane is claimed as the gang's origin. The Numbers Gang story holds that a man named Po became alarmed by the exploitation of miners in late 1800s South Africa. Po allegedly befriended a young Zulu called Nongoloza who said he was on his way to the mines to look for work, and Ingeleketshane, a member of the Pondo tribe. Po eventually recruited 15 young men. He taught them a secret language and highway robbery. The men robbed travelers and colonial outposts of the goods. The gang chose to change their habits to avoid being caught. They moved from cave to cave and split themselves into two groups. Ingeleketshane with his 7 men who robbed by day, and Nongoloza and his 6 men who robbed by night. Po ordered the 2 men to carve the daily outlaw activities on a nearby rock which would serve as a diary. Po then ordered the 2 men to visit a farm, owned by a Mr. Rabbi, and to buy one of his bulls called Ruland Red Earth. Mr. Rabbi was suspicious, and refused to sell the 2 men the bull. The 2 youths refused to leave without carrying out their orders, and proceeded to stab the farmer with bayonets and then steal the bull, and slaughter it for a feast. Po ordered the men to take the hide of the bull and press it onto the diary rock until the words from the rock were imprinted on the hide. There were now 2 copies of the gang's ways, and Po explained that the bandits must follow the rules as they had been set out from the beginning. The 2 items were divided between the 2 men. Nongoloza received the hide and Ingeleketshane received the rock. The 2 were instructed to carry them wherever they went. The rock, however, proved too awkward to carry and one day it was accidentally dropped down a hill. It split into 2 pieces, one of which fell into a river. This left Ingeleketshane's gang with only half of the gang's laws. The first conflict between the 2 gangs took place because of this incident. The 2 gangs decided to embark on a joint expedition, but Nongoloza said he was sick and stayed behind. He asked one of Ingeleketshane's soldiers, Magubane, to stay behind with him. Upon returning, Ingeleketshane found Nongoloza engaged in homosexual acts with Magubane. Enraged, Kilikijan challenged Nongoloza to a fight. Nongoloza replied that according to the hide, sex between bandits was allowed in order to avoid contact with women. Kilikijan retaliated by saying that he didn't trust Nongoloza, believing he had added this law to the hide after half of the rock was lost. The 2 men fought until they were both drenched in blood, and Po arrived to intervene. Po listened to both men's sides of the story. He then told Ingeleketshane to travel to the mines to see if men were engaging in sex with one another. Ingeleketshane found that this did indeed take place, but opinions remained divided as to whether this justified Nongoloza's act. This would become the pivotal disagreement between the 2 gangs that persists to this day. Po had informed the men that at the entrance of his cave was an old assegai, and if the men found the tip of the assegai rusted, it would mean that Po had died. Due to the death of Po, a final decision on whether sexual intercourse between men was allowed never came to pass. After Po's death, the 2 gangs decided to go their separate ways. Nongoloza's gang with its now 8 men including Magubane, whom he decided to take with him, and Kilikijan's gang with its 7. It is said that this is where the numbers 27 and 28 originated, with the number 2 symbolizing the 2 leaders. The gangs agree that the day and night would still be divided between them as it had always been. The gangs continued to roam the countryside until they both ended up in Point Prison in Durban. At Point Prison they encountered a group of 6 men, led by a man named Gray, who were France non-gangsters. The 6 men would sit in a circle and flip a single silver coin between them. Nongoloza demanded that the men hand over their possessions to him. They refused. Later Ngileketshain told him that these men were skilled smugglers and gamblers who had helped him in his early days in prison. A fight broke out between Nongoloza and Ngileketshain about the future of the gamblers. Ngileketshain defended the gamblers against the 28's sexual appetites, which was what Nongoloza wanted them for. After many disagreements, Nongoloza finally decided that the new group would be called the 26's. This name was chosen because they had 6 men, but also because Nongoloza wanted to indicate their inferior status. Nongoloza informed Ngileketshain that he and his men would have to answer for the actions of the 26's. Finally, the 3 camps were formed. The 26's were responsible for gambling, smuggling, and accruing wealth in general. The 28's were the warriors and responsible for fighting on behalf of all 3 groups, and the 27's were the guardians of gang law and the peacekeepers between all the gangs. New rules and a strict code of conduct were drawn up. It was decided that when a gangster broke a rule, the blood of a warder or France non-gangster must be spilled to set things right. In early 19th century, Nongoloza tried to take over the city of Durban by recruiting men to join his gang, the 28's, also known as Amalita, but was overpowered by the 26's influence in the city and was later overpowered. The war started by Nongoloza made the 26's more brutal and had more gangs rising that were influenced by the 26's, such as Amadando, Oliver Bompfu, Omdakan, Abafana Baseclamont, Abafana Bakwamashu, and the gangs from Ananda Township. The 26's have a big membership, but the 28's still stands out against the 26's in jails. That's how the number gang started in South Africa. Today it controls most of all prisons across the country. It is said that if you are a non-gang member in a South Africa prison, you're more likely to die anytime, or get hurt, stabbed, or sexual abused. Thanks a lot for watching up to this point. On our next video we will explain each camp of the gang, their rank, their duties inside the prison. Please subscribe to don't miss out on episode 2.